Good evening. Welcome to the 2015 Candidates Forum sponsored by the Wallingford Community Women. I'm Jean McFarland, the program moderator for tonight. This segment features 6 of the 12 candidates running for town council. The format will be as follows. The first part of the program will consist of questions asked of the candidates by members of the local media, including the Record Journal, the New Haven Register, and 2 students from Mark T. Sheehan High School. The second part will allow each candidate to make a closing statement. During the question and answer portion of the program, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes to make closing remarks. Before beginning the questioning, I'd like to introduce 6 of the candidates running for town council. They are, left to right, David Fritz, Democrat; Gina Morgenstein, Democrat; Larry Russo, Democrat; Vincent Cervoni, Republican; Craig Fishbein, Republican; and Tom Laffin, Republican. Eric Vo, would you please ask your first question, of David Fritz?
Hi, Mr. Fritz.
Hi, Eric.
In light of the recent situation with the former electric division employee, what do you think the role of the council should be in regards to personnel matters? Do you believe more severe matters should come before the council so you guys are aware?
I would say that in light of this situation, I would have our legal department ferret it out before it comes out to us, and let us go through our legal department and let justice prevail through there. You know, let us be in light of what's going on, but I would let our legal department handle the human resources situation.
Okay. Emily Frankie, would you please ask your question of Gina Morgenstein?
Hello. So my question is, what are you planning on doing regarding the possible closing of the volunteer fire department?
So that's a very recent development where the state has had to assess its budget and has pulled back some money from the town. And if you look at surrounding towns, and if you look at the Wallingford budget, the amount of money, I think that's the truck. The closing of one of our fire departments. Okay, I was not up to date with that. So if I'm not sure, does it have to do with service needs or budget? I knew about the fire truck that we weren't going to pay for, that we were pulling back from.
Okay, you could talk about that if you would like.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that because we have under $200,000 that was taken back from the state, and rather than looking at the whole budget, we have the mayor now taking away a fire truck being purchased and a couple of other small items, some repair items. And we need to, in this town, be looking at the big picture. We need to be looking at planning and progression. And when we look at our budgets, we can't look at the very small figures and just react to small money. If you look at Meriden and Cheshire's response to the small amount of money that the state is taking back, it's infinitesimal in relation to the budget. And the budget has been made, and the money has been organized, and this idea that small amounts of state money have to be reacted to in an excitable way is what unfortunately leads this town to not be doing proper maintenance. The fire truck in specific was being purchased. This town council was very specific about the need for purchasing that truck so that we would not be spending more money on maintenance of an aging truck.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Haley Frankie, would you please ask the next question of Larry Russo?
Hello.
Hi, Haley. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So how do you plan on modernizing Wallingford in terms of technology?
Well, that's a good question. We've been trying to do that for a long time. And we've had some roadblocks, and it's something that I believe we have a good technology committee right now, and I do sit on that committee with Councilor Laffin and Mansfield and Mr. Testa. And we have made grounds. We were planning on bringing a line in from the library. We're doing some successful things in the town council office to try to implement less paper, more emails and so forth. So we are going in the right direction, but it's going to have to be slow. It's not something that we're just going to be able to throw all kinds of money at. One, we don't have it, and two, we're working with an administration right now that they're reluctant to do that. And I think if we piecemeal it in and lack of a better word, spoon feed it in, we're going to have more luck getting what we need. Thank you.
Okay, Luther Trammell, would you please ask the next question of Vincent Cervoni?
Good evening, Vinnie.
Good evening, Luther.
Do you think that the town should have a full-time economic development professional? There's was a discussion a couple of years back about the effectiveness of the Economic Development Commission and of the individual that was in the job at the time. Is the town leaving money on the table by not having an economic development professional working full-time?
Thank you for that question. Thank you to the Wallingford Community Women for having us tonight. Luther, in a word, the answer is yes. I absolutely believe that that is an important function in modern-day government. Wallingford is a tremendous asset here in the heart of Connecticut. We are at a crossroads of major highways. We have spectacular public utilities. We have electric rates that are a draw to manufacturing. Tim Ryan, who holds that position right now, is doing a pretty tremendous job of marketing the town every opportunity he gets, of welcoming those to town who are interested in investing in town. And our corporate tax base really is a great leveling factor for taxes on homeowners and individuals in town. To keep a robust corporate tax base, I think it's vital to have that position be active. I think Tim's great. I think he's doing good things. We have Amazon coming to town. I know when Bristol Myers announced that they would be significantly reducing their presence here, that Tim got right on the phone with them to do his best to mitigate what was going to happen in our future, have conversations with them about finding appropriate space for the employees who would be remaining in Connecticut. So to go back to my answer to your question, I think it's vital in a town like this. We have a tremendous amount to market to businesses. So given the opportunity and the funds, I would increase that to a full-time position. Thank you, Luther.
Eric Vo, would you ask the next question of Craig Fishbein?
Hey, Craig.
Eric, how are you?
Good, how are you? So taxes have steadily increased over the years. What do you propose to be done to try to keep the mill rate at either at no change or at a pretty minimal increase?
Well, I think year after year I've brought up certain areas that I think should be addressed in the budget. I think the budget has pros and cons. I think the oversight that goes on with regard to agencies that are not directly affiliated with the town and what they perhaps do with funding with taxpayer dollars. I think that is a way to address the mill rate, to perhaps keep things in check. I think a good example of my philosophy with regard to the budget is this the proposal that the mayor has made, or the unilateral decision to take things out of this budget. And I would like to know what other avenues the mayor had looked into, such as nonprofits that get funding from the town, before we reduce these capital projects. One of them was referenced earlier, the fire truck. We balance public safety against, grants to community agencies that we have no oversight over. I think those kinds of things properly addressed can keep the mill rate in check. And, looking out for the expansion of government doesn't happen unless it's absolutely necessary. And I guess the example I would give of that is the increase in the Board of Education personnel. They recently came before the council, and I just didn't see the need for that increased personnel, and I voted against it. I'm one vote of 9 up here, and all I can do is vote accordingly. Thank you.
Emily Franke, would you ask the next question of Tom Laffin?
Hello.
How are you, Emily?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. So my next question is, what do you propose to do to promote the train station and improve the traffic flow?
Good question. Thank you, Emily. And first, I'd like to also thank the Wallingford Community Women and Government TV, as always, for putting this event on so that the people of Wallingford could have another avenue or venue to see who the candidates are and what we believe and how we feel. Regarding the train station, I wasn't a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the train station and where it's located. And I kind of made that clear a couple years ago. We were under the understanding that we didn't really have a choice, so we kind of settled and so on and so forth. So the train station's coming. That's how it goes. What do we do to promote it? And I think what we do to promote it is a lot of what Wallingford already does in combination with Wallingford Center, Inc., the Economic Development Commission, and just having a great education system. People will automatically be drawn to the town. People want to live in Wallingford. And now this is, if people are interested in commuting to Springfield or Hartford or whatever it may be, this is an opportunity for them to move someplace a little further from those cities. I think we need to create and help and work with the EDC and WCI in making those areas, that area around the train station, incentivized so that it can develop or redevelop in a more constructive manner, in a way that will allow new businesses to grow and pop up and the existing businesses to flourish, whether it be little dine-in restaurants or little shops and things like that. I think what we need to do is continue to have our ears open to the community, the people that are there now and the people and the developers that are interested in coming in. And with those people, we will attract the residents to use our train station.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, for the next round, Haley Franke, would you please ask your question of David Fritz?
Hello.
Hi, Haley.
So how would you determine what residential streets are plowed first in the winter?
Good question. Interesting story. I live up on Cliffside Drive. We got plowed out in that big blizzard 3 days after, and my wife missed a Bon Jovi concert due to the fact that the road wasn't plowed out. But I believe if we take our average daily trip count, main thoroughfares that aren't state roads, and that's how we can determine, critical paths, life support centers, things like that would be the first priority of our plowing. And then we work off of the main branches off to the smaller veins and arteries that surround the town. But it is a big problem, and it will continue to be a big problem, especially when we design roads and things like that with small snow shelves, and everybody's left with large snow banks. So, as days go by and winters come upon us, I think good planning strategies by the town engineer and the town public works, we could figure out a proper strategy to work off the main trunks to get the most average daily trip counts for roads. So that's how I would take it. Thank you.
Luther Turmel, would you please ask the next question of Gina Morgenstein?
Good evening, Gina.
Hi, Luther, good to see you again.
Should the town be exploring more opportunities in terms of renewable energy and generating it on town-owned land? I mean, for example, putting solar panels on the landfill, as Cheshire is considering doing.
Luther, I think you may well know that I'm a big proponent of conservation and protecting our environment. We certainly have a wonderful electric company that Mayor Dickinson inherited. We love to tout it. It brings business to town. But yes, we need to move into the time period where we need renewables. And the fact is that solar, wind, all of these things should be investigated. I don't have a lot of familiarity with costs of infrastructure versus cost to our users, but certainly I would be a big proponent of investigating that. And we need to, for the health of our community as a whole, look at environmental impact of everything. The fact is we no longer have our garbage to energy plant. While that's a good thing with the pollution, we now have a transfer plant, and we have rats. We have other problems based on that. And so looking at the whole resources of what our community does and how it impacts our tax base, our costs, the health of our people, yes, that certainly is something that we should be investigating. Thank you for that question.
Eric Vo, would you please ask the next question of Larry Russo?
Hey, Larry, how are you?
Good, Eric, how are you?
Good, thanks. So the recent public workshop that was held for the Plan of Conservation and Development, a lot of residents had spoke about doing more with open space in town. And there was, I think, a little bit of surprise from the town planner about how much interest there was with the community lake property. So I was wondering if you support doing a little bit more with that area and what you think can be done.
Community Lake is a nice area. We looked at that with Little League back several years ago to see if we can put multiple fields in there. I know the linear trail's there now. One thing that I think is an issue down there is the actual parking, the way in and out. I mean, you have the lake on one side, you have the Merritt Parkway on the other side and Hall Avenue, so there's not any other ways of getting in and out that I'm aware of now. I'd like to see somebody investigate that, maybe go all the ways down through and come out near P&A Park, if that's possible. But there is a lot of land down there. From what I understand, people want to see the dam come back, but I don't believe that's going to happen from DEP. It's just something that's not going to happen. So to develop that land a little more, I'd like to get some more information on it and see what they would want to do with it and how they would, progress at that point. But I think that one way in and out could be an issue. I know it was when we were looking at Little League fields there. I could just, picture parents dropping kids off on Hall Avenue, running down there for games late and stuff like that. I know they use that parking lot at, I believe it's still Times Fiber. So they use that as their parking lot sometimes. So, but I wouldn't be totally against developing that some more, but I have to get some more information and see what they really want to do with it.
Emily Franke, would you please ask the next question of Vincent Cervoni?
Hi.
Good evening.
So my next question is, what are some ideas you have in order to improve the amount of litter in Wallingford?
Well, thank you for that question. It's certainly something worthy of thought and consideration. I think we have a lovely downtown. We have a lovely uptown. We have a nice Yalesville community. And there are times when you're driving around, whether it's in those central areas or in the outlying parts of town, that you do see some unfortunate litter. I think that good citizenship often involves reaching out and cleaning up what's within your own reach. In terms of town services, I know that we do have periodic cleanup where Public Works does go around town and does look for litter, but I would encourage citizens to be vigilant. If the type of litter that's there goes beyond your ability to handle it yourself, and it's in an area where it might be unsafe for you to do that, I'd make a phone call to Town Hall or to Public Works, and I would certainly encourage that we all be vigilant to keep this town beautiful. You can't rely on government for everything. It just gets too expensive. And so I think that, you know, the answer is a partnership. It's the citizens reaching out when they can, when it's safe, and then when they can't, calling the appropriate authority and seeing that it gets taken care of. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for being here on short notice.
Thank you.
Haley Frankie, would you ask the next question of Craig Fishbein?
Hello, Mr. Fishbein.
Hi Haley, how are you?
Good, how are you? What steps do you plan on taking to improve any contaminated wells in Wallingford?
I think contaminated wells, you know, something I was thinking about recently is about 6 months ago, we had a lot of talk about the wells up on, I think it's South Broad Street, it's known as, over by where Coles is. And that I think it was 7 families have been unable to have regular drinking water. The DEEP has had to come in and install filters in their homes. The source has been untraceable. And I haven't heard anything in months about what that situation is, whether or not they've been able to hook up to the town water system. I know the last time we talked about it, there was an issue of an easement. I think it's about time that the council got some sort of update on this situation, because, you know, I'm concerned about those families. Quite frankly, that's the only situation in town that I know that I've heard that there's a problem with wells. You know, in the council, those kinds of issues don't normally come to us. We certainly have public question and answer at each of our regular meetings, and I think that's how that came to our attention originally, is a resident who's impacted by that came and talked to us about it. You know, what are you going to do? And I think that's an opportunity that an open government affords its citizens. And if others were having problems with wells, you know, I would certainly want to know about it. But as far as I know, that's that one instance, and I'll be looking for some sort of update. Thank you.
Luther Turmel, would you please ask the next question of Tom Laffin?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Luther.
Nobody likes to pay additional taxes. I think we can all agree about that. And the mayor often talks about not taking on no new programs that the town can't afford to pay for in the future. But in terms of actually shrinking government, Wallingford town government, should the town be considering offering buyouts or some other kind of staff reductions? Consider undertaking any of those in order to hold the line on taxes?
Sure. Oh, you want more than that? Yeah, it's, yeah, no, anything, you know, the town, the administration, and when I say the administration, I would just include the mayor. I mean, the directors of all the various departments in town are constantly and always looking at the best way to have efficient and effective, meaningful budgets. But they also want to have the best team that they can have. And I know that a lot of the people that work for this town love working for the town, not just because the benefit packages are nice, but because they have a large sense of pride for what they do here. Whether it's mowing the lawns or working at the reservoir or fixing the streets, or even, you know, just plowing. There is a large sense of pride, and there is a smaller internal community within that. So I think it's hard because people do administer with emotion at times. And when you have such great people that love their jobs and want to work, it's hard to want to look at them as just numbers and getting them out. But I think we are always looking at things like that. We are, you know, have we come up with some sort of program to just clean slate and lose a lot of people? No. But I think what makes Wallingford feel like a small town, even though we're much larger than a small town, is that sense of community and pride that our employees have when they're working with our residents and resident services and whatnot. So it's a tough balancing act, but I know that the administration, mayor, and directors are constantly looking at exercises such as that.
For the next round, Emily Frankie, would you please ask your question of David Fritz?
Yes. Hi, Mr. Fritz. My next question is, if elected, how do you plan to improve and promote businesses in the downtown area?
How do I plan to improve businesses in the downtown area? I think we asked a question earlier about the train station, and I believe 6 years ago, Economic Development and the Planning and Zoning Commission came up with a mixed-use incentive where you can include housing and residential and retail within the same building or same sector. It was a program enacted by the state. Per each unit of residential occupation, it was $2,000 afforded to the developer. And I think we should look into things like that. There's a lot of good developers out there and a lot of good developers in here that could, in our town, and landlords that could work together to promote the downtown. Biggest crux with downtown is our parking situation. I know that's a bugaboo for some of us in here, but I think we need to address a lot of our situations in town so we could go to our good restaurants that we have uptown, and downtown. Parking is a crux, and once we have the train station in town, we're going to have another parking problem, or it's actually away from town. But parking becomes an issue when you want to develop a business and you want your business to flourish, is finding where people can park and not have to worry about it. Maybe we look at West Hartford Center as a model to build off of. I mean, I know we don't have the demographic for it, but I do believe that we can do something similar to West Hartford Center and then develop it that way. Go with an urban feel to a suburban town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley Frankie, would you please ask the next question of Gina Morgenstein?
Hi, Gina. So what are some more ways that you plan on addressing the drug and alcohol abuse in Wallingford?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I'm actually the medical liaison for the Coalition for a Better Wallingford. So it's really very multifaceted, and it involves community as a whole. The community has been brought together in neighborhood events. The policing and the law enforcement community has a strong relationship with that coalition and is really building with the community. The very first step is education and risk reduction. Our high school is once again luckily going to be doing a risk assessment survey of high school students. We know that between the sophomore and junior year, the risky behaviors increase immensely. We know that the young 20-somethings are the people that die of opiate overdoses. Educating our medical community has been a personal action of my own. Educating young people, avoiding the substances initially and those risky behaviors. But really, I believe ardently that our community is the first line of defense. Our parents, our teachers, our students with each other, everybody speaking with each other, everybody realizing the issue. We now have a downtown police beat. The theory that if a policeman is walking the beat and getting to know the community, not only can he spot trouble, but he knows that community and people will come to him. I strongly believe that community is the way we combat a lot of our issues and come together and build a beautiful town. Thank you.
Luther Trammell, would you please ask the next question of Larry Russo?
Larry, I'd like to get your thoughts on how you felt the Department of Public Works handled the various situations with the ornamental trees in the downtown and uptown areas. And also, I'd like to know what you would have done differently if you had more of a say in that sort of thing.
Yeah, that is a good question. I'm a landscaper, so any bush, tree is going to have to be pruned. Unfortunately, if you just let it grow, they're going to grow to a point where you're going to either have to cut them down or a disease will hit it or whatever. What took place out there, I'm not sure. Did all the trees need to come down? I don't know. I wasn't pervy. I didn't go out and look at them. What I would like to see, possibly flower boxes, 4x4, 6x6 flower boxes. You put down with a forklift, you have some plantings, or ornamental tree in there. If something went wrong with them, all you do is put it on a forklift, put it back on the truck, and you replace it with something else, so it's pretty much transparent to the town and to whoever comes into the town. Some people were talking about putting the grids in, and I still think a root system, when you're close to the sidewalk and road, is eventually going to come through. So, again, getting rid of all of them, I don't know if it was the right thing to do or not, but again, that's not my call. But I do wish that if they are going to do what they did, or they are doing what they did, at least go back and try pruning the trees, because, again, that's going to be something necessary. Thanks.
Eric Vo, would you please ask the next question of Vincent Cervoni?
Hey, Vinny.
Hi, Eric.
So as the town's preparing to update its plan of conservation and development, what areas do you deem a priority?
I just want to say, you look very nice tonight, and I hope that you'll continue to dress that way when you come to our meetings and cover them. In terms of the plan of conservation and development, I know there's a focus on downtown development. Our downtown or uptown is a growing restaurant destination. We've had several new restaurants come into town in the past several years, and I think that's proven to draw people into Wallingford, and more people visiting town to support our business is very helpful to us. So I think that downtown development is very important. I think that looking into continuing to partner with property owners to come up with more parking solutions. We have, I always remember Linda Bush, who's now retired, saying that we have plenty of parking downtown. Apparently she walked around downtown and counted the number of spaces. It's just that it's not all ideally located for we suburbanites who want to leave our driveway and park right in front of the restaurant we want to go to. But I think that providing more quality parking downtown would also help if we could tackle that in the plan of conservation and development, and perhaps examine some of the outlying zones that aren't getting developed, and for whatever reason they aren't getting developed. I think we have a great team working on the plan, and I look forward to hearing the solutions that they come up with in the plan that will be proposed. Thanks for coming, Eric.
Thanks.
Emily Frankie, would you please ask the next question of Craig Fishbein?
Hello.
Good evening.
Do you know of any up-and-coming businesses that you feel would be best to fill the additional properties?
To fill what properties?
The additional properties?
What additional properties are you referring to?
Like open space, like the town open space.
Well, I'm a proponent in preserving open space, so if you're talking about replacing a field with a development, I would be adverse to that. When we talk about filling, you know, I'm concerned about the open storefronts that we have in the downtown area. In fact, before I came over here tonight, as part of the POCD plan, the Plan of Conservation and Development, today was released a new survey for people to comment about the downtown and what they would like to see in the downtown. And I specifically put, when I responded, that I'd like to see a Starbucks and a sushi place. Those were my responses for the downtown area. You know, generally I'm happy to see Amazon is coming to town. I'd like to see, you know, when the post office building does close over in the Parkway, you know, it would be nice to see that occupied by something that pays taxes. That would be of benefit. But to replace open space, you know, I'm an outdoors person. I like to hike. I like to fish. You know, somebody had asked before about littering, and I can tell you that when I hike, I bring an empty bag with me because I pick up litter and, you know, dispose of it as I see it along the trail. You know, so I think that's the best answer I can give to your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley Frankie, would you please ask the next question of Tom Laffin?
Hello, Mr. Lappin.
Hi, Haley, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So what can you do to stimulate the job pool for high school and college-aged kids, or even adults?
Stimulate the job pool. I think a lot of the choking on the job pool is coming from the state level. So what do we think we could do at the town level? I guess it's really to remain a strong, business-friendly town, helping the businesses grow when we can, helping promote them, assisting organizations like WCI, listening to the EDC. The EDC, the Economic Development Commission, they visit businesses in town weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it is. And they bring a whole contingent of people, and they go down, they meet with the owners and some of the leaders of those businesses, and they just flat out ask them, what can we do to help your stay, your existence in Wallingford better? And they get a variety of feedback, and they always want lower taxes and stuff like that. But I think it's to keep an open dialogue. I don't know that as a town we can promote, as a town government, as a municipal government, we can promote our small businesses from just creating jobs. I mean, everything from the minimum wage to business entity taxes and things like that. I think when you see a lot of new businesses starting up in town, I think that's good. And I think that's where we have to increase the pool. That's the best that we can do, is be inviting to new businesses, whether it be a bakery or even another landscaping place. Sky Zone, we brought in a big place, and a lot of teenagers work there. So I think that's what we need to do, is just remain as business friendly as we are, and hope that it leads to the consequences we're looking for. Thank you.
Okay, for the next round, Luther Turmel, would you please ask your next question of David Fritz?
David, I'd like to circle back to your answer to a previous question regarding development, and you made the observation that you'd like to see Wallingford's downtown modeled after West Hartford. What does West Hartford do that works and that you think might work in Wallingford? I mean, they're slightly, I would imagine West Hartford's population is slightly bigger than Wallingford. Wallingford's about 40,000. I confess I don't know what the size of West Hartford is, but what would work, and what did you mean specifically when you said that?
I'll give you another example. Luther, thanks for bringing it back around. Mansfield, Connecticut, which is a smaller town than ours, obviously they have Yukon on right across the street or right within the town. They did a project which I actually helped design called Mansfield Store Center. And what it is it's a mixed-use development with apartments and everything on top. When they have the puppet center, they have restaurants, they have a medical clinic, walk-in clinic. These are things that you got to think out of the box, which I think Wallingford has topography, it has the demographics. We don't match the demographics of West Hartford, but our outlying towns do. I mean, so our median income may be a little less than West Hartford, but I think we have the infrastructure around us to provide like a town center within the downtown area, or we just up our parking, which is very feasible. We do have some land available, and we do have, we're not totally landlocked. So bringing in people that could think outside the box, that have done it in other areas, may shed new light on this situation. Because if you think about it, our restaurants that we have are top notch. Some of the stores we have, most of the stores we have are really good. And, adding a few, like as Craig Fishbein said, with the Starbucks or a sushi place, maybe in a piano restaurant, things like that, that people will want to, flock into downtown and experience more of, And as Vinnie Cervoni mentioned, there are other areas around town that could be developed as well. It's just proper planning and going ahead with this plan of conservation and looking elsewhere, and then bringing it back in, which will help us, plan a future and bring in economic development. Thank you.
Eric Vogt, would you ask the next question of Gina Morgenstein?
Hey, Gina. So you're a regular attendee of town council meetings, where you've been frequently critical of the mayor and at times some of the council members. And you also, your name was on the lawsuit that went to the courts about the tree removals over on North Main Street. So, I mean, if you're elected, will you be able to work collaboratively with the councilors and the mayor?
I'm glad you asked that. That's really one of the big items that I wanted to put in my closing statement, that as much as I'm not afraid to let it be known if I feel something needs to be done differently, and I'll work hard in that endeavor, I very well know how to work well with others, play well with others. I work in the medical field. You see people all day long that want something from you or don't want to give you something, or, the fact is, I am on the Plan of Conservation and Development Steering Committee, along with Craig and many others, and I would see myself working very well with this group of people. And honestly, I've gotten to know them, aside from the town council. With regard to the tree lawsuit, the fact is that it was dismissed on really just a legal technicality, and the fact is that all those trees did not need to come down. And the Wallingford Center, Inc., which people have spoken highly of and respect, and the Greening Committee and a state forester and a big group of people were put together with the first phase of the tree removal, and a recommendation was made that some come down, others not. And the administration has, for a third time now, and there's 2 more pieces of the tree plan, refused to prune, said right out, we're only here at a hearing because we need to be, and there is no modification. It's all or none. And it should be planted in stages. It should be without those bricks the way they are, and love to work together and love to make it work right. And the next 2 phases, hopefully that's what'll happen. Thank you.
Emily Frankie, would you ask your next question of Larry Russo?
Hi, Mr. Russo. How are you?
Hi, Emily, how are you?
Good. So my last question is, what are your opinions and your thoughts on the merging of Sheehan and Lyman Hall, if that were to happen?
Seeing I didn't grow up in Wallingford, I grew up in Brantford. We had one high school, but bring those 2 high schools together, I think some of the old timers would have an issue with it. That's something totally really up to Sal Menzo and the superintendent and the school board. If they see enrollments going down and that's something that is needed, by all means, I think I would support it. Bringing one high school would definitely bring costs down. Where you would move the high school, I'm not sure. If you move it to Sheehan, if you'd move it to Lyman Hall, if you create a different one altogether. But I don't think that's something in the near future that's going to happen, to be honest with you. From what I understand from talking with Mr. Menzo, the enrollment is going back up again. It was declining at a point, and it seemed that it was going back up at one point. If you bring the high schools together, there's definitely pros and cons. I mean, you would have some super sports teams. You bring them both together. You wouldn't deplete the talent as much. It's something that we're going to have to look seriously at, especially when it comes time for budgeting and whatnot. But again, it's for the kids in the town. You want to do what's best for them. It's not something you want to jump at, but you want to make sure that what we do is going to be the best for the students and the kids of this town, because you don't want to put them at jeopardy. Thank you.
Haley Frankie, would you ask your next question of Vincent Cervoni.
Hello.
Good evening.
What are your thoughts on the linear trail now and its possible expansion?
That's a great question. Thank you. I think the linear trail is a wonderful resource. It's something that people of all ages and from all kinds of backgrounds can enjoy in town. It's a resource that when you initially look at it, the building of it seems expensive, but when you look at the years of reward and the variety of people who can take advantage of it and enjoy it, I think it's an excellent resource to have in town, an excellent recreational area. Recently, in the past several months, we've approved some of the steps to continue the program out into Yalesville, and that project has come before the council several times over the past 6 years while I've been sitting on the council, and every time the project has come before us, I have taken the opportunity to support it. We are typically getting significant grants from whether it's from the state or from the federal government that really defray the cost for us. So I think that's a terrific use of land, and everybody can enjoy it. So I have supported it, and I would continue to support it given the opportunity. And thank you as well for filling in on late notice.
Thank you.
Luther Turmel, would you ask the next question of Craig Fishbein?
Craig, earlier in tonight's program, you made mention of nonprofits and the town's support of them. Do you think the town spends too much in supporting nonprofits? And if you were to think of making cuts, where would you suggest the town start?
Thank you, Luther. I try and not jump at conclusions without having backup. Since I've been on the council, one of the things that I've attempted to institute is any group that gets funding from the town that's not directly affiliated with the town, that I want to see their budget, what the money would be used for, and what would be the impact to the agency or entity if they were not to get that funding. Unfortunately, I've never gotten a complete package of that request. I can't micromanage every outside agency that gets funding, but I think that this body has a duty to the taxpayers to make sure that when it's giving money to someone that we don't have oversight over, that it's appropriately spent. There's many nonprofits that do good work, and I'm not. There was an issue years ago with the Salvation Army, where great group, but it was found out that there was a problem with money and how it was being spent. That's an oversight issue. And here, when a nonprofit comes to the town and they get a check, it's almost like a grant application to the town. And I know, and I sit on or up until recently, I sat on the Wallingford Foundation, a charitable arm of the Rotary Club, and we would analyze grants. And those are the kinds of things we would ask for. But what I see with the town is a request is put in and here's a check. And I don't think that's responsible to the taxpayers. So I don't want to make conclusions, and I haven't made conclusions. I just would like to see a little bit more oversight. I could go on and on, but my time is up. So thank you, Luther.
Eric Vogt, would you ask the last question of this session of Tom Laffin?
Hey, Tom.
Eric, I also want to echo Chairman Cervoni's comments. You look very dapper this evening.
Thank you. So Bristol Myers, obviously they're leaving in the future, and they were the top taxpayer in town. How can you draw another business to use a site that has such a specialized use?
That's really hard. And I've talked to people in the Economic Development Commission, specifically Tim Ryan, about that issue. It's Bristol Myers built that site specifically for their use and for themselves. Had this happened a couple years ago, the timing might have been better despite the horrible circumstances. When you have other similar companies like Alexion building in New Haven. Maybe they could have moved into that. So what do we do with it now? They've looked at, or they've talked about, is there a way to subdivide? I guess there really isn't. The way it was built, it's not an easy layout to rent to multiple parties, unlike the building over on Green Hill there, where Anthem is. I think what we first should appreciate is that we do have other opportunities, such as Amazon, coming to look in, and the changes with the possible changes with the classification of the area where the post office is as well. And I know there's not an easy solution, and I know, and people should not expect that we all of a sudden just have an answer within a couple months or a year. I think it's going to be a long, ongoing process. But I think what's important to realize is that everybody, both sides of the aisle, administration, community members, business leaders, all agree that something needs to be done, and everybody's going to be working together to do something about it. And we are working with Bristol-Myers to try and see if there's a way that their Connecticut presence remain in Wallingford. It just unfortunately won't be in that nice building. Thanks.
Thank you. That concludes the question and answer portion of the program. Each candidate will now have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Mr. Fritz, would you please begin?
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm David Fritz, and I'm the guy with the pink signs. And the reason I have the pink signs is because I find pink to be a very strong color. Breast cancer, obviously, a lot of different things. I think men that wear pink are generally more comfortable with themselves, and but I won't get into that. But I have a strong sense of duty to run for public office. It's kind of in my gene pool, but I guess I defer it in the past due to the fact that I enjoyed watching my siblings go for public office or my mom in public office. But as I grew up and my kids grew up in this town, and they're still growing up, I felt a sense of urgency to step forward and try to help my children, my parents, people of vast ages and cultures, to try to help make Wallingford better. And I see it as has a great foundation. I just see it being better as I travel to different towns throughout the Northeast for work and things. I see that little things that we could do better, or that we do really well and other towns don't. And I just want to make sure that we do as good a job as we can for everybody in this town. And it starts with proper planning. It starts with thinking outside of the box. Maybe we take Bristol-Myers and we work with EDC to recruit another pharmaceutical company from Europe or wherever, and then we work in that IX zone to build a research development zone so that they have branches and arms to work from, and where I live up in Cliffside, the nearest gas station is 3 miles away.
Mr. Fritz, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Gina Morgenstein.
Yes, hi, thank you everyone for coming. I am pleased with the turnout. I am really humbled to be offered the opportunity to run for office, and I've met a lot of new people, and I just want to work for the town. And the town, as we all have said, is such a beautiful, historic New England town. It has such potential. This upcoming plan, our 10-year plan of conservation and development, gives us an opportunity to join the upper downtown with the lower and use our open space. And our huge assets in this town are so varied and so many, and we just need to work hard, and I want to work hard for you, the public. I was invited to become involved by a local small business owner, and I and my husband, after the kids are grown and out, made Wallingford kind of our next baby. And we're a community and we all should be doing that. Some people do it from home, just watching on TV and seeing what's going on. Some people come out. Everybody has their own part in this town, but we're all here and we all need to work together. And the very first is come out and vote November 3rd, and I hope you'll want to vote for me. And I want the best Wallingford, as we all do up here. And thank you for that opportunity.
Larry Russo.
Yes, I want to thank all my supporters that helped me during my 2013 bid for council and eventual election, and the tremendous support I'm getting this year for this election. It's been an interesting 2 years, and I have learned much. I believe we did some good things these past 2 years during some very trying economic times. I believe I have truly worked bipartisan with my fellow councilors and to do what's right for this community. We've come together over the past 2 years. We have provided sustaining monies for the school system for the 2014 budget and a budget that allowed full-day kindergarten this year. We have provided our police, fire, and public works with the necessary budget to keep our town safe. We have been able to use bonding successfully to implement the long overdue Lyman Hall track and field. The next 2 years, I feel, will be even more economically challenging. The exodus of Bristol-Myers, the reduction of Covanta, the reduction of state funds, and just expenses that just keep going up. As a counselor, we have to be fiscally responsible and work within our means to provide Wallingford with the best possible services, environment, and a way of life. I've been called a quiet counselor. I don't say much, but the fact is I do my homework. I ask questions, I meet with department heads, and have been a leader in a variety of volunteer positions over the course of my life. I listen, ask questions, analyze, and come to the best possible solutions for the whole. I thank you for putting your trust in me, and I urge you to come out and vote November 3rd. And I ask that you vote for me so I can continue to serve this community. Thank you very much.
Vincent Cervoni.
Thank you. Thanks to the Wallingford Community Women, Luther Trammell, Haley Frankie, Emily Frankie, and Eric Vo, and Government Television for making this possible. Thank all of you for attending. My personal investment in Wallingford has continued to increase over the past 21 years since I first came to town. My first apartment was on Martin Avenue. My first house was on North Elm Street, and now with my wonderful wife, we live out on the east side. I can't imagine living anywhere else. 3 years ago, I brought my practice to town. First, I was on Center Street. Now I'm on North Main Street, and despite the fact that the Hooray sign is gone, I keep celebrating. My council experience has been nothing short of exciting. With the support of my fellow councilors, in my second term, I had the opportunity to be vice chairman of the council, and this term I've been honored to be the council chairman and to be given the opportunity to work closely with the mayor. Wallingford has many blessings. We have tremendous public safety capability with 2 new department chiefs who bring fresh perspective to public safety. We have wonderful parks and open space preserves to allow everybody to have fun out in nature. We have a bustling downtown, which has become an ever-growing dining destination. We have a very strong business community, which supports our infrastructure, partners with the town, and provides jobs, ever-important employment. Ever-improving public schools with partnerships with private schools in town, Holy Trinity and Choate. We have reasonable taxes and utilities for everyone, and that ever-important AAA bond rating. My record supports all of these things, and because I am proud of those things, I hope that you will support me and that you will vote for me and for the entire Republican ticket on November 3rd. Thank you all for listening.
Craig Fishbein.
Thank you. I also want to thank the Wallingford Community Women. I want to thank whoever set up the seats here tonight, because I'm usually at that end and I can never see the cards. So on November 3rd, we're going to pick our representatives for the next 2 years. And basically, in my opinion, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are leaders and there are followers. And someone once said, I think it was Patton, he said, there's three characteristics to a leader. They have a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. As to the wishbone, I look at that, someone has an open mind. And I think I've always had an open mind while I've been up here. Many times we've been told, you can't do that. And many times I've said back, why not? Yes, we can. And many times I've proven that to be true. As to the backbone, everything that I've done up here has, I think, met the three rubrics that I've run on every year. Smaller government, lower taxes, less interference with the day-to-day affairs of our law-abiding citizens. Without concern for party, I just want to tell you a quick story with regard to that. When you drive out of my driveway, every day when I drive out of my driveway, there's a Larry Russo sign, a huge one, facing my house. I like Larry, but it's facing my house. And it was about a foot from the roadway, and the town came through and said it can't be there. And I went to the law department and I fought so that Larry Russo could have that sign closer to the roadway. That is without party. And as to funny bone, you can't sit up here and be John Sullivan's pincushion without having a funny bone. So thank you, God bless America, and please vote on November 3rd.
Tom Laffin.
Thank you. When I was 14, which was a lot longer ago than a lot of you think, I was sitting with my scoutmaster and he asked me, what is leadership? And I don't even really remember what I said, what my response was, but he did not say, that's a good answer, or, oh, that's close. He said no. He said, leadership is influence. I've done my best over the past several years with my involvement in town to have a positive influence on everything that goes on here. True leadership is not bestowed on anyone. It's not taken from people. Influence is measured, leadership is measured by the amount of influence that we exercise over others, over people and processes and resolutions. You know, so who's a leader? We're all leaders. Everybody at this table, everybody in this room, everybody behind a keyboard on Facebook, everybody watching from TV. We're all leaders in some way. We all want what's best for Wallingford. We all want something better than what we have now, even if what we have now is really great. I'm humbled by the support I've had over the past 4 years on the town council, the past 2 years as the vice chairman of the town council, and the 4 years before that on the Board of Education. I'm humbled by the positive reinforcement when I go door to door and the fact that people recognize me and know who I am. I'm humbled by the fact that when I go to Stop and Shop, people stop me and smile and aren't at all offended that I want to strangle my kids for misbehaving. I'm humbled because I've done my best, and that's the best promise that I can make, is to do my best. And I hope that you feel my best has helped keep Wallingford great, and that you'll think of me, and that I will have your support on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes part one of the 2015 Town Council Candidates Forum. On behalf of the Wallingford Community Women, I thank you for watching and remind you to please vote on November 3rd.